Oh, take my hat off.
Yeah, good.
Get myself logged on here.
Oh, yes.
You can start. Jennifer sometimes walks in
Yeah,
and out.
I'll give her a minute.
Where do you want?
Right. All right, according to all the official clocks, it's 6 o'clock. Call to order the regular meeting and hybrid meeting of the Woodstock Planning Board for January 4th, 2024. Happy New Year. So, do we have any updates?
At the end of the meeting, I want to have a conversation with you guys about lots of missing of overlay, but that's gonna wait until after she stops.
Okay, then we have the minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
You're making a motion.
I'm making the motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I
What could I do without you?
All
In favor?
Aye.
perfect.
Okay, under communications and announcements, we have an email from S. Goldman regarding short-term rentals and home share Woodstock applications. So under new business, under scheduled business, we have 3 sketch plan reviews. And the first one is Woodstock Gardens. And it's Victoria Arnstein, formerly Michael Arnstein, and this is special use permit number 22-0385 and SUP number 22-0667. This is a review by Community Planning and Environmental Associates of September 7th.
Thanks for having us. I just want to make introductions here. Michael to my right is the
That's amazing. Only one.
yeah. Well, I know there's some boards out there that don't even have enough members to constitute a quorum, so that's public service is a good thing. So we're here. We've responded. We received Nan's comments, and we've done the best we can to respond to them. So I don't know how you want to go through it. We could just go through your comments, or however. What do you think is best?
Whatever. I've got your on here, although I don't, as I look at it, I don't know what I'm actually trying to.
So you responded to the November 9th memo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did see your last review.
Oh, I got the PDF, sorry.
You gave us.
Yeah, there's everything's on PDF, so there's plenty to
I don't know
go.
what the other things on there are, but I got the PDFs.
The only thing that's on that thumb drive is relative and pertinent to the application. So there should be 3 files in there.
No, there are 6 files in there.
Nan's review. 1, 2, 3.
Can you describe?
Submittal package 1, submittal package 2, submittal package 1 and 2, but they seem to have a different, they've got a date with a period in front of 2 of them, site lighting and site layout.
Oh, maybe they're duplicates.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what would you like?
They're pretty basic. You can go to the one that says package number 1. That has the site plans in it, and there are different
Now
versions
I'm
of the
gonna
site plan.
have to do a screen share. Give me a second here. Should be it.
I have the preliminary review. Is that the one?
The, from my memo
Yeah.
was, the second one was November 9th. There was a previous one in
Okay. you want that one?
July, I think.
Yeah.
July,
Maybe even earlier.
maybe even earlier.
Yeah.
I think that if you've all had them, I mean, we could go over it. It seems to make sense if you want to address the concerns. I don't know, or if the board had other concerns related to my memo. However the board wants to work it.
Well, we saw your, we saw the original proposal that they gave us at the last meeting,
Mhm.
and they had incorporated a lot of
Mhm.
your
Yep.
suggestions there at that time. So, pick up from there.
Why don't I just go, I organize this by your, how you organize
Okay,
it. So why don't I respond to it that way?
okay,
So, the first section of your letter was access and road. So I do reference the main site plan. It talks about the entrance and the signage. We have signage that's shown, not on this sheet, but another sheet.
You just tell me what you want me to do and I'll change it.
You don't have to do anything right now. I'm just gonna go through it basically.
Mhm.
Fire hydrant, as we discussed a while ago with the now former Chief Peters, is on the site near the entrance, which is also where the inside sign is. So there's a very small sign proposed for at the entrance from Tinker Street, and a slightly larger, but still a small sign that's more ground mounted with downcast recessed lighting.
and you have an illustration of that in here?
Yes. In fact, you have a separate sheet in what the package I gave you.
Okay,
It's on the very own sheet, so you can see it very easily.
okay,
So we discussed the fire hydrant. We agreed it was a good idea to have that, so we included it. I've confirmed with Larry Allen at the water department that the water pressure, the PSI, the size of the pipes on Tinker Street are adequate for this. But he says he does defer to an engineer. Ultimately, an engineer would have to, just do a study on the flow rates and so forth. But he thinks that it's a 6-inch pipe at Tinker Street at this point, at that stretch of Tinker Street, that it's 8-inch pipe closer to downtown in the Village Green. But he feels that it's adequate for that and for, as you brought up, Nan, the fire sprinkling, which would be an NFPA 13R system in all the habitable buildings. That there's adequate supply for that and for all the beds that we propose.
so that was from the water,
Yeah, I kind of combined two. I combined the fire, the fire chief who talked about the fire hydrant and the sprinklering, and Larry at the water department. And I have an email from him saying that he's pretty comfortable with what we're proposing.
so is the planning board comfortable with those folks' input, or do you need some other sort of more formal confirmation of water availability or, capacity? I don't know how you normally address that.
Yeah, I think like Brad said, that you'll get an engineer's opinion. and that's-
Ultimately, we'll have an
Okay.
engineer, a civil engineer to size it, that and the water lines, which are, right now, are obsolete. They're out of date. They're not the right, approved kind of compliant copper line. So we will improve those. They will come in at the same, trenching location as the hydrant line will, just for efficiency, and it makes sense that way. So there'll be slightly larger water supply lines and new.
We usually start, as the planning board, starts with fire, like check with the local fire department and check with Larry on who does water and sewer. So that's usually the initial start. So Brad's already, he's there.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure we
Perfect.
follow it through.
So the shared access, you raised that in access and road. It is a private road, it's not town maintained.
Right.
And it's been in existence for a long, long time. I don't know if we know exactly Where's?
behind you.
Oh, there you are.
He's hiding.
I don't know if we have any, detailed information about that, but we have old maps. We've been trying really hard to determine its history, but it has a long history, obviously. As folks at the table know, and in the audience, there were houses there were buildings, and there was an access that was well established for a long time. So the idea would be that we would improve that private road access-wise, so it's not as potholy and muddy and filling with water all the time. And at the entrance and exit on Tinker Street, we can't control what neighbors do with their shrubs. Ideally, right now, it's not that great to turn out of. It's the sight line is bad now. We'd like to see it improve for everybody. So that's just a negotiation we have with the neighbors for a better, safer ingress egress. So I have met with the DOT out there. We are going to do a perk. I'm trying to remember the name. Perk 33. It's a strange name, but an application with DOT to make sure that everything is compliant.
For curb cut,
Well, there's the curb cuts there.
yeah, okay.
It's a question of maybe
Yeah, it's existing.
opening up the turning radius at the entrance.
I think that what I was concerned about was not, I mean, that's good that you're doing that, but if it's a private road shared by a number of owners,
Mhm.
property owners, then, is there a maintenance agreement? Who's taking care of, the plowing and the road maintenance? Who's responsible? Has there been filed, anything filed for common property with Attorney General's office? Usually when you have a common driveway, it's not, people know who's responsible for what and who's gonna take care of it. And so I'm just concerned about, like, what about those other owners? Have you met with them? Have you discussed it with them? Who's responsible for what?
Well, it's in the Woodstock Gardens and Michael and Victoria's interest to have a well-maintained private road. So I'm sure I can't speak for you, Michael, but you'd want to maintain it very well.
Right,
And
I'm not
how-
doubting
in
it. I'm
terms
just
of
wondering, like,
agreement-
who would do that?
Alec, maybe you could speak. Do you want to come up here, Alec? So.
Yeah.
Hey, Alex,
Running
if you bring a chair, I'll scoot over and you can sit by me.
Yeah.
Grab this
Well, my concern is, what are the neighbors doing?
Are you good over there?
Oh, yeah,
I mean, the people who own that road have a say.
Well, that's a valid concern. And so that's why we had a traffic, study done, and it found that there was no additional impacts as compared with what was pre-existing, what was there before the fire, 2018. So in terms of the number of vehicle trips in and out, there's really no difference. That's what the report says, and that's available for all of
They
us.
still have to be willing to have this happen.
Well, it'd be nice to have a full agreement, but there are several properties there, and as long as the impacts aren't any greater than what they historically were, hopefully they'll be amenable to that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and there's an existing easement agreement too that's referenced in the deed, so we do have a right to use Calamar Lane. For ingress and egress.
What's the date on that easement agreement, do you remember?
I don't have it with me, so I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'd have to go back.
That's been shared driveway for as long as I can remember, that goes back one ways.
So who maintains it now?
I think just the owners who flank it, and perhaps when there were residents on the 1, 2, 3, 3, and 5. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know what the agreement was, but somebody did.
Well, I think that's what, I would
Would there-
recommend the board
Would there be
clarifies who
a
is
new
going to be doing the
road
maintenance.
maintenance agreement to be put in place? Like Alec, I mean, I think
Yeah,
like,
that's possible. I think we've indicated that, being the
Right.
biggest.
How many
owner.
owners in total?
I mean, what?
Owners affected.
I can
by
answer
this.
that question in a minute if I go
So
to the
when the
other
property
map.
was purchased,
There's
was
one
there
on-
any type of road
one on each
that
side.
we
Each side.
talked about or any?
Well, Alex, is it a user road at this point?
I mean, there is Yes, I
I
think
mean, that's
so.
when you have a private road that
Over
the
the
town
period of time, there's,
takes care of it.
yeah, such use that it becomes basically, public easement.
Okay.
I mean, going back to the eighties, there's been multiple building permits and COs issued for the property, so the town has kind of treated it that way, so I think there's an argument to be made.
Well, there are
yes,
two
and there's also
properties.
Because it's a dead end. the
There
town
are
has
two
no interest in
properties,
it.
they both
Yeah.
have frontage on
My
Tinker
understanding is
Street.
there's no town maintenance.
They don't have frontage on Calamar?
They have frontage on Calmar, yeah, but their driveways go out to Tinker Street.
They don't have driveways on Tinker Street, their driveways are on Calamar.
They are.
Oh,
They're-
yeah. I can't tell that from this. It doesn't-
It, affect- it acts as a driveway and then they have parking, to either
Oh, right,
side.
okay, I see it.
Yeah, it's
Because we
literally.
were out there together.
That's,
No, I remember, I'm
that's
just
the
trying to remember how
property, right up
How
there.
the shared road works, because there's
Yeah.
That's the
They go
property.
partway
the
in.
houses go off Calamar, not off Tinker
Yes,
for access.
Right, they
That's
have,
the
they have
road.
faces, they look like front, they have front doors on Tinker, but their parking is on Calamar.
Okay,
So do they access their parcels from Calmar?
yeah.
yeah.
And when the property was purchased, there was never anything said about how the road / driveway is maintained or kept up, or, I mean, I would ask my realtor that if I was on a dead end of a road being like, oh, wait, it takes care of this road. It's not.
Michael.
Hi, so I can, the other two properties are owned by an attorney who lives in Scarsdale. I reached out and spoke to him soon after I bought the property. I spoke to him by email and on the phone. We had a very pleasant conversation. He rents out his 3 homes to people that I think have been there for quite a while. And I said, this is my information. If you ever have any issues, get in touch with me. And we never talked then about anything specific related to maintenance of the road. It's totally flat and it's just gravel. I mean, I don't want to say anything negative about him, but it's not maintained. I mean, there's pretty big potholes in it. The landscaping isn't taken care of. But we had very good, nice, friendly conversation. That was it. So I didn't talk about maintenance of the road because it really doesn't need much. That's the extent.
Well, it would need to be plowed, it would need to be, gravelled every 3 to 5 years, I'd imagine, I was just curious, but nothing was
Yeah,
said.
same owner, Scarsdale.
I think, certainly improved maintenance is gonna be good for everybody, and that's what we want. And
It's what everybody wants.
that's right. For public
Including
and private.
us, but inviting.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're at the end of the road, maybe that's a good way to say, hey, let's re-gravel this road.
Yeah.
I'm a good neighbor.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'll
Um,
get your, I've got your thing back, all right.
So another item in the access and road that Nan pointed out was the question on the ADA unit. So right now we have it as the one that's kind of in the southwestern part of the site. And if you measured it from the drop off, the loading and unloading for the handicap unit, it's about a 70-foot travel distance from there to the front door. And the reason we put it in the front there and not in the back is that it's a lower building and
This one here?
yes, it was situated better towards the front and then towards the back. And the back one also has a basement in it, which is not ADA friendly. So that's the
So
reason.
if we look up there, which building are you talking about for ADA?
Well, it hasn't changed since the beginning of the January last year, but it says Stonehouse 2. It's kind of hard to read. Stonehouse 2, 1-story. It has a
Okay.
loft in it.
Okay.
With an
Stonehouse.
ADA unit that one right there.
Got it.
Yeah.
1 story with sleeping loft, ADA accessible, 1 bedroom.
Right, and that would be on a raised.
So the bedroom is accessible, but
It's
the
like a
loft
big,
is.
yeah, it's a big open plan ground floor. It's like a studio, essentially. But
And
that, and that would, and
the
you.
drop off area is over here.
Right, and you might see down towards the front door, there's a little area there. No, the front door is on the top,
There,
right
yeah.
there. So there's a little ramped area there. It's not even a ramp, it's less than 1.20 feet, pitch sloped up, because we have to raise up the slab, the floor finished slab to be above the base flood elevation.
Right, but it is a sloped, smooth surface,
Oh, yeah,
goes into the house.
yes, and in here, Nan, I also addressed the type of surface.
Okay.
Because that hadn't been on, I don't think that had been identified before.
Yeah, if you
So
look,
it's all gravel, or it's all,
well, it's described here. Let me just see if I can go to where. Okay, this is on the first part. It's a minimum 48 inches, 4 foot wide. It has a decomposed granite or limestone screenings mixed with a stabilizer, and that stays very consistent and solid without being, a impermeable paver. So it works very well. It's a widely used method for this type of walk. And for, use of a gurney. So if in case of an emergency, a gurney can be wheeled down there, very easily.
and are the sidewalks wide enough so that a fire truck or an ambulance could drive on them to get down to?
There would not be a need to drive down there because once you're in the parking area, you're so close to every building. And this is something I also reviewed with Chief Peter. And I've been trying to get in touch with Police Chief Keith, and he's hard to reach, but I want to sit down with him and just have a conversation. My sense is that if a cruiser or an emergency vehicle or a fire apparatus could get into that parking area, they have very easy access to all front doors, all the units, because it's all very compact, really. In terms of the fire, once there's the hydrants in there, you add that to the length of the hose, and they could go across the stream at that point. They have lots of flexibility.
So what is the actual distance, like, from the parking to, let's say, the little house on the brook?
Well, I didn't, it's kind of, because this is kind of a very complicated
I know it
drawing.
is, I'm trying to.
Yeah,
That's
it's
100 feet.
It's about 150 feet maximum, if you draw a straight line.
Mm.
Yep.
So is that from Tinker Street or from this?
No, from the
Here.
parking lot to that door.
And
That's
the-
what
and the
she's asking
hydrant-
about.
Okay.
Presuming you get it, it's gonna be on the corner of the property.
Yeah, the hydrant is, if you, Judith, can you pull that down a little bit?
Mhm.
One more. So
So
I'm
that's as far
sorry,
as it goes.
you can see that there's a note that's kind of off the sheet. I apologize for that, but
It
it's,
says fire district,
yeah, it says fire hydrant as recommended and approved by Woodstock Fire District.
okay, so that's there.
That's exactly right.
Now, I'm curious about these red lines, because they seem to mean different things. One is the sewer main, and my maps agree that there's a sewer right there, and the water's
Mhm.
on Tinker Street close enough.
Right.
But there are other red lines in here, and I have a concern about flood. Because my maps show, and they're FEMA data as of 2022,
Isn't that
that
what that
this
red line is?
corner
Yeah, that's the
in
base flood
here
elevation.
is flood susceptible.
Well, that's why we came before the board originally for the wetlands and watercourse permit, and we understand that we might have to come back because, things have changed a little bit. If anything, they've gotten less impacting than originally submitted, because we had more buildings before, we had larger buildings before, and now really it's just the little house on the.
Well, just a minute. I seem to have lost what I'm doing here. Oh, I know why, because. Just a second.
Was your, for this one, and probably for that one, that's within the base flood,
Right.
you met with the floodplain, I don't know, is your building inspector, your floodplain administrator, and gotten
Yeah.
that?
Yes, yeah,
That meets all the specifications?
Exactly right, yeah, and we had this approved, it's kind of timed out because it's been more time that's gone by. But we had a wetlands and watercourse.
Yeah, this was the little, where you rebuilt the cottage that used to be.
Yeah, we pulled it back.
Actually,
about-
over the stream.
Yeah, we pulled that back about 25 feet or so.
There were modifications to the one building too, right? Wasn't it raised higher?
Yes. it's
Or it was
So that
something
was
that you
already
did
what-
underneath it, so that if there was a
That was
flood there,
approved
it would
within
be
the
well.
wetlands and watercourse permit initially when they first came.
Right.
So where the flood issue lies was technically already.
And that also had to do with the footbridge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for that matter, there, the stamped, drawings that were approved, we also showed a larger building where the little house is.
Yes.
At that time,
They were-
they
The
encroached,
scale of the project.
Yeah, at that time it encroached.
that encroached, and this one
Looks
does.
like it doesn't
Yeah.
now. I'm gonna go back to my map for a second. Yeah, you're someplace over in this area with that one.
Mhm.
And the other one is kind of in here, so
Right.
we're kind of in agreement.
We don't have a lot of time, I know, so I'm gonna try to move through this just kind of in brief summary. So the Tannery Brook, we do have a stream disturbance permit from the DEC, so that's in your package. And that's good for 4 years, it's renewable, but it's it's essentially approved. The landscape hardscape, you had some questions about that, and I don't know if you had anything specific for Lisa, but essentially, we're showing kind of a good neighbor type of cedar fence that's 6 feet or whatever the height the town will allow for the side yard setbacks, the side yard property lines. It won't be a solid row of arbor vitae shrubbery, but Lisa will ultimately produce a full and comprehensive plan that is, more of a construction document level.
Yeah, this
Plan.
was just a conceptual, a planting
Okay.
plan.
And
Which
then
is-
in answer to Nan's question about trees, my photograph suggests that was very little on the Tinker Street side of the bank. There's a lot of stuff on the Como side.
Correct.
Yeah, it's pretty.
In the way of trees.
I've
there's
been
not
back
much
there, there's not,
Yeah.
they're.
Yeah, and she saw.
It was destroyed by a fire.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
very.
and Lisa has identified the invasive plants that we're gonna try to mitigate, but there's some that just come back.
Yeah, the knotweed is just, everything takes a management plan. And I do want to address there, I have heard some concern and some chatter that we're gonna be using pesticides and herbicides, which we're not. So I do ecological landscaping, which is beyond organic. And so it's, if anybody does want to have any discussions or has direct questions, and we can do it afterwards about the management plans and those, what ecological landscaping really is.
Great.
I think it was just more detail that will come later that wasn't on here, but I did, looking ahead, there was a comment that I made about, I'm not getting my direction, I have to read this again, but it was looking at, how the planning board can envision what, from the neighbor's view, from their sides into the site. I think it said, so the landscape plan has an illustration showing a section through the site facing west, but I commented on that the neighbors would want to look from their side of the development, so I don't know if you could have something similar to show.
Yeah, there are a bunch of houses on the east side and there is at least one on the west side.
Well, the neighbors will see buildings, it is there is a certain density to the town center.
And there was before.
Yep, and so the buildings will have, will be nicely designed, and they'll have, reasonably sized windows with window treatments, and I think everybody wants to, have either enjoy the natural light or have privacy. They have their option of drawing their shades or blinds, so that's all above the fence and above the plantings. There's not gonna be, bright lights or anything, it's just gonna be a very, domestic type of a low lighting, as with the site lighting, which, Nan, you'll have a very complete, and the planning board will have a complete description of the types of lighting. It's really bollard lighting that's about 3 feet tall. It all shines down. By the time that lighting, and it was, it's been, as you saw, it's been, photometrically mapped. It's just at about 0 point. It's like if you go a couple feet into a neighboring property to the west or to the east or to the north, you get down to 0.02, which is almost no light fall off at all. And for that matter, we're gonna have the fences there, which will cut off any of those low bollards. We do have two options. We show one that's all bollards for the parking and the path lights. And the other one being a couple of 11-foot tall lampposts. So those emit a little bit more light, but it drops off very quickly, right after the property line. So it's very dark. It's not like, and they're all dark sky compliant as well.
can I ask a question?
Yep.
I don't understand a lot of symbology on here. I get the trees, I get the houses. But then we have these little guys. I don't know what those
Trees.
are.
Those are trees.
Those are trees. And then we have these. Are those light colors?
You know what,
Trees.
Judith, we have more drawings, so if you want to go to the next one, it might be easier to see the things. There you go. So this is something Lisa prepared, which is, you know, a little more friendly
Okay,
on
so
the
that's
eyes.
all basically trees.
Yeah.
And where are the lights in that?
And this
previous
rotated,
one?
well, the lights aren't on here.
Okay.
There's
All right,
there's
that
an
was what I was trying
85
to
page section on lights. That's a separate thing. We won't have time to get to that tonight,
Okay,
but at least we have the data
but
for it.
basically, most of the stuff we're looking at in that image is vegetation.
Yes.
Probably added new vegetation.
A lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
did
know
you
if I
get
can
the
rotate
website?
this.
I have a hard copy.
You didn't get that wrong?
Well, I'm wondering what this
Is that
is.
drawing
This
in
is
the
on the
website?
website.
Do you think, you know?
Fire pit, that's
Pardon me?
right.
Is that drawing in
It
the
was all
package
saved
that he
on the
gave me in
phone.
here? Oh, wait,
It
is
should
this
be
in
here.
here? Oh, there it is, okay.
Send the link to her.
If you send it to me, I can send it to them.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah,
Well, just, why don't you just tell the board that there's
yeah,
a
we do have a
website.
website now.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
We were supposed to have it up in here, but
But we have just
Ran
enough
out
time
of
to look at this stuff anyway.
Yeah, this will not
Um,
rotate.
we'll forward it on to you.
So there are new renderings. We don't have them here, but they're on the website.
Okay,
And they address some of your things, your concerns like the riprap, which is not, that was just an artist rendering. That was not something we were proposing at all.
You gonna drop me off a set of all the good, new good stuff?
Yeah, I'll give you this stuff.
All right, that or next week, you can come see me, whatever.
It's either today or tomorrow or the week after next.
Whatever's fine with me.
Um,
Convenient for you, whatever.
Thank you. The community gathering space was your next section, and that was, you know, just questions about the fire pit. You know, I did ask around a little bit. Woodstock Way has a fire pit, and I asked, well, how do they maintain that? That's on a terrace, and they said they've never, there's no, you know, direct maintenance of it, but they just kind of allow their guests to self-maintain, self-regulate, and they've never had a problem with it. You know, they say there's no late night fires or any activity like that. And I think that's something that could be, you know, a written policy potentially. In terms of fire hazard, there's gonna be gravel all around it. That's how you designed it, right, Lisa?
Mhm.
And you're a few feet away from a running brook. We will have, you know, rainwater catchment systems. We can have spigots on those containers, so there's abundant water. And as long as we're in a contained fire pit that's surrounded by stone and then gravel and water supply, it shouldn't present a problem. I mean, there's one that we have in town that's seems to be functioning fine. But, you know, whatever the
Yeah.
planning.
Was that it now in the center of the property?
Yeah, do you see, see the
It's
dot with
this
the little
Little
seats
guy
around
here,
it?
I was looking at it to see what that's.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not near the.
No,
It's about as far from the buildings as you can get.
We moved it away from the west side, which I think, you know, and was a good move. And it's central. I think it's gonna be just a community gathering area, just the way it's described.
So what
That
is-
and the bocce court and the, you know, sitting area by the pergola.
Is that what that is, the pergola there?
No, the
that's a
pergola is just
tree.
above that, the rectangular.
That's a tree
section.
with paths going
Yeah,
around.
a tree with like a bench around it, kind of a, you know.
And just above that is the pergola and a
Oh, this
and
is
a
the
terrace,
pergola.
and then the gray box above that is a bocce or boule, or petanque.
Yeah.
Court.
And this is what, gardens?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep moving here. So the footbridge and tent site, we know the tent site is gone. The footbridge is a single footbridge. And then the next section is the floodplain and drainage. And there, Dan, you had a question about the pavers. I can give you some information in there, and there's a link. And if you have an electronic file, you can click on it. But it shows this, and it's a high capacity. That means like a fire apparatus could drive over it without any damage. And there are two versions of it. There's one that's grass, there's one that's gravel. And that's, it's made of 100% recycled, high density plastic. And that was what was envisioned for the parking area. And it's a very great and sustainable product. We're still waiting on some information from the engineer on grading and the flood fringe. I did provide some information on the SWIP. It is not required because we're well under an acre of disturbance. We're about at a half an acre. And that has
What's the acreage of the whole,
an acre and a half,
the whole 3 put together?
acre and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about a third of that. And so there is a disturbance.
Fred, I have a question.
Yeah.
Alex, too. We had talked in the beginning about combining the 3 lots. Are you guys still doing that? Yes.
Yeah, that would come up for the with the county.
Yeah.
And they have
You can go to the assessor.
They have a window on them. They don't do it year round.
Oh, because you
So-
can't within a certain time frame of the tax.
Yeah, if you miss it one year, you have to make the next year.
Okay,
But
so
that
we'll
is the
work on
idea.
that. If that's, because I think that's probably what we want to do, right?
Yes, yeah. Make it a single.
If you call me, I can link you with Karen and we can figure out. The assessor's office.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this is also in the drawings themselves. If can you go to the next sheet, please? Judith? Well, that
Which
has,
page do you
that
want?
that shows the signage on that, but it's also on some 8.5 by 11
Okay.
sheets.
Oh, that's the sign?
Yep.
Okay. These little guys.
Yeah. Can you go to the next sheet, please?
Yeah.
And one more sheet, just trying to find where. And another. There we go. So that shows the yellowed area of the walkways, the parking, the buildings, the coverage. Those are all calculated on this.
Okay,
And that shows you that the total disturbed area is about 36%. And I factored in an extra 25% disturbance.
okay,
So that it's not just, right to the buildings,
Right.
we give some room around it for,
Okay.
equipment.
okay.
While on this sheet, I just want to point out that this is, there was also a question about access to the Como,
Mhm.
and that's addressed down here too. And I did a walk around sometime early last year, the entire perimeter of the Como with a geolocator, and it's not too hard to know the edges. And I identified a lot of areas, a lot of places where it is, for lack of a better word, is porous. So there were gates behind fences, allowed easy access in and out from privately owned lands to the Como, which I think is okay. There's no there's nothing in the Como deed or easement that prohibits that. So my thinking is it's kind of a self-regulated thing that people should use it responsibly. It's public lands. It's a recreational area. So just the point of this was to show that there are a lot of places where, you could come and go from private lands into the Como, and it looks like it's something that's just utilized. There were paths, there were even some furnishings and what looked like a fire pit, from a private property owner on the Como property. So, there's flexibility, I guess. It's kind of a soft and, but with that, kind of knowledge, how this gets utilized from the footbridge and to the Como, we want to encourage and welcome people to be able to cross the footbridge and go into the Como and enjoy it just like anybody else in the public. But maybe there's some policy where there's a dusk to dawn, where there's a gate, a control point on the south side going into the Como. So it's maybe it's a card reader. I don't know how it's going to be done, but that's just an idea. That there's people aren't going to be walking up there in the middle of the night or in the dark. But they get to use it. They get to use it to access Como. And it's private lands of these properties on that south side. And it's been a dream and a desire for Mike to have that footbridge. So that's what this is just showing, there's a lot of access there.
The path that you're drawing there, that's an anticipated path.
Yeah, yeah, you can't see it, it's just off of it, but you can kind of see it there. This
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's because parts of the
Zoom.
meeting are up there, and
Yeah.
I can't move it over,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
but no,
There we go.
yeah,
So that path doesn't exist.
no,
Okay.
and that's on the property.
And I just, I brought that comment up. I don't know what, if any, thing that the town as owner of Como has to say about.
And the land
Access.
conservancy, which is maintaining the easement.
Yeah, so it's just a question. Yeah, I'm sure other people have that access, but
Yeah,
it's
Well,
you're creating, you're specifically creating a pathway to it.
Yep.
And then we just need to make sure that on the other side of your property, that's an acceptable.
Right.
Melissa, do you
Pathway.
know, like, does
What about the
the parking lot up
corner
here close? Do they, like, could 3 cars pull up here at 3 in the morning at this parking lot?
Yes,
And people could tumble out the window
Anytime.
at any time?
Yes.
Okay.
anytime. Yeah, there's no, yeah.
It's like the Sled Hill, I mean, everybody goes there.
My thought was, what
But
is
at all
it?
times of night.
Como Advisory, right, committee? Isn't there a Como Advisory Committee?
Yeah, there is.
So my thought was, what if Brad reaches out to them?
Either them or the land conservancy.
But is Land Conservancy connected?
Land conservancy holds
They hold the
the
easement?
conservation easement.
I didn't know that.
I think they ought to be at least, at
So
least
maybe the two of them.
communicated
just
with
reach out.
and make sure
Yeah.
there's
I mean, a gate.
good understanding. That's all you need is
An
understanding.
interesting idea. to
I
me.
reached out to them early on. I spoke with Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin Smith.
That's, yeah, what's up?
Yeah,
He's the
and
president of the board of the land conservancy.
him and one other, yeah, so I could do that again,
And Andy Mossy is the
right?
executive director.
I mean, the gate thing's interesting. I mean, I think
I just think it's-
sometimes even like a sign wouldn't be a bad thing to
Yeah.
say, please respect our environment. I know people can read a sign and just ignore it, but
They do.
they do, but I would think in Woodstock, there might be a little bit more of that, like, oh, whoa, maybe there's actually cameras in there, we should be careful.
But the idea of a gate card and having it turn off at dusk
Right, no
is
access.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Maybe on the bridge rather than on the other side of the bridge.
I agree.
Hi, everyone. I want to respect other people that are on the schedule, and I know we're out of time. I wanted to say hello, and I came with my 2 of my 3 children. And I'd like to answer any questions, but also tell you a little bit about why we're here, what we're hoping to do with this project. I'll give you some brief history. I've been coming to Woodstock since I was a kid. My grandparents have been coming to Woodstock since the 1930s. So there's a lot of family history, not physically living in Woodstock, but this was kind of our family place to go when we wanted to enjoy the great outdoors. And the Catskill Mountains have always been a big thing for hiking for our family. When I got married, first place I wanted to bring my kids to was Woodstock, and we stayed at the Woodstock Inn. I got pictures of him when he was 2 months old in a carriage at the Woodstock Inn. And I wasn't making a lot of money back then, and the Woodstock Inn was super luxury for us. That was a great experience. And we come to Woodstock a couple times a year, and it was always the greatest moments for our family together. Going to the restaurants, going to all the tchotchke stores, going hiking. And I was very grateful that somebody created access to Woodstock and created the Woodstock Inn. And fast forward, 20 years later, I had this dream that maybe we could own property in Woodstock. And I came up here with my wife, and we stumbled upon this property that had all these terrible house fires. And those buildings tragically burned down, and the people lost their homes. It's very sad. And nobody wanted to buy the properties. They were on the market for 18 months, in the center of Woodstock. Nobody wanted to touch it. And I'm a rookie, I'm not BlackRock or big investment property developer. And I was probably an idiot for buying the property. At least my wife said that to me a couple times. And we spent 2 years and over $200,000 cleaning up, a really bad site. And then for a variety of reasons, the goal shifted to, instead of building and living there personally, to trying to create access more access in Woodstock for people to come here and be able to experience what Woodstock is about. I mean, it's a very popular tourist destination. And I felt had somebody not built Woodstock I would never have been able to enjoy Woodstock. My kids wouldn't be able to enjoy Woodstock. And it's not just come here and walk around, but it's the vibe, it's the message, it's what Woodstock represents that I think is important. You know, instead of buying Calamar Lane, you know, we could have just put the money in some stock market or some other investment that would have been, you know, no headaches and made more money. And for me, the idea was, how do you create something that's going to influence more people in a positive way, to try to do something good, and also trying to do something that's beautiful. You know, I remember when they built CVS, there were people that were against, say, CVS, because, you know, for a lot of reasons, what they were building wasn't what the community wanted. And I'm still disappointed in how they built CVS, because it doesn't look like a Woodstock building. You know, it's boring. It looks like it's part of a strip mall.
It's CPS.
It's CVS, but you know, I said, well, why couldn't the architecture be a little bit more inviting, a little bit more Woodstock? And it's the first thing that you see to come into town. And every time I drive by it, I say, well, why didn't they do a better job with CVS? I don't want to build anything that's not going to be incredibly beautiful. This project is an art project, and it fits in with what Woodstock is about. A mud club is a great addition to Woodstock. I love mud club, and that's a lot of inspiration for what I would want to do with Woodstock, what I'm calling Woodstock Gardens. So I wanted you to hear from me that's my passion, that's my history, and the goal for me was for my children to take over this as how they would create a livelihood for themselves, to create access for families, for people to come to Woodstock, because as Brad's pointed out to me, there's only 62 rentals.
62.
There's 62
Well,
rentals.
motel, hotel, inn, B&B.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few times where I wanted to come to Woodstock, but there was just no availability. And I know that's the case with a lot of people. So I want to answer questions. We want to do something for the community to make something beautiful. It's not everybody's going to win, and I realize that. And I'm very sympathetic to the concerns that people have, and they're valid.
I really appreciate what you're saying in terms of your interest in doing something for the Woodstock community. And I know that for me, it just really, as somebody who lives in Woodstock and sees, you know, that there is a housing crisis. And we actually have from my perspective, the Woodstock is saturated with hotels, motels, and Airbnbs already. It actually is. So there's no shortage of that. And personally, to me, it's disappointing to see another motel happening. And I'm curious, you know, if you have considered other creative ways of making it something that is going to be an investment and lucrative for you and your children, but perhaps also consider, like, if there's any way to do it, I mean, you know, in a way that is just another, you know, rather than just a motel, but just something that, you know, long-term housing or even part of it. I don't know if that's been considered at all. I know you're at the beginning stages, but it's just like, I was
The
doing
original presentation, when you came for the wetlands and workforce, we were told it was going to be long-term housing.
And that was the original plan.
So why not keep to your original plan that was presented here?
Well, like I said, access and bringing more people to Woodstock, for me personally, is I see a greater benefit in bringing more people to Woodstock to experience Woodstock. And I understand there's like a difference of opinion on that.
The market is thoroughly flooded with that already. We have such a shortage of long-term housing. Like right now, it's just like we don't have ways to support, you know, the things that happen in Woodstock because there's no housing. That's the problem.
Yeah, I
Because there's so
agree.
many Airbnbs, hotels, motels.
I'm sorry, this is a whole nother conversation. Our firm designed affordable housing, as everybody at this table knows. There should be a lot more affordable housing in this town. And that's it's not either or, it's and. So find sites that are more than 1.5 acres that are never going to get affordable housing placed on them by anybody ever, and develop them. for affordable housing and build many, many more units. Do both. It's not an either or question. And there is not a lot of motel housing or hotel housing. 62 units are available, 62 guest units. You can look it up, find out. That's it. So we have very limited time here.
Yeah,
I don't think
we have
we-
some other cases.
Yeah, so like Michael said, we don't want to take the whole time, but we have answered all of, as much as possible.
Okay.
There's a lot of data in there.
Okay.
Well, you have all the digital, so that can be shared. We'll share
Yeah,
the,
she'll give me the.
we'll share the website with
Do you
you.
want me to put this stuff on my machine and then we'll also have it for future meetings or?
However you want to do that. It's
Just give me the
for
flash
you.
drive and I'll send it to you guys all through a link.
And if anybody wants to get in touch with,
Send me
with
the
us,
too.
if anybody wants to get in touch with us directly, we just created a website called
Okay.
woodstockgardens.com, and there's lots of questions and answers that are there, and a submission form, and we will personally respond to anybody who has questions or wants to have a dialogue. But
Okay, so from the planning board's point of view, this project is in the Hamlet commercial. And therefore, commercial activities are permitted, have been permitted, there've been other hotels, movie theaters, everything else in the area. And our job is to make sure not only that everything is done to code, but that we protect the neighbors as much as possible. And that's the screening, the plants you're gonna put around to protect the neighbors from excess noise or light. That's our purpose here. So that's, you've done a lot toward that, like moving the fire pit away from the neighbors, screening around it. Those are the kind of things we're looking for, so, yeah.
There is one concern that Nan raised that we still need to talk about. Motels have a check-in area and 24-hour management. And that's not something we are seeing here. We're seeing a self-service check-in.
Well, there are a lot of different models for motels and hotels, and they don't all have 24-hour check-ins. They don't even all have check-in areas. So we've provided that here. There will be hours of operation. There won't be someone sitting there at 3 in. No, but this is this meets a lot of the criteria of the modern day motel. A lot of these motels are touchless check-in, including Woodstock Way. So they don't have all night people staying in the check-in area. So it's a somewhat antiquated model for motels and hotels.
Maybe, like a narrative on the plan.
Well, it's in here. I
Okay.
put a lot of information about that, and
Okay,
so please review it.
Yep. I will.
perfect.
I know you will.
So what's the next schedule?
Copy.
So we need
Three
to talk
files
a little
on
bit
the
about
line.
seeker.
Thank you.
But I know we're.
Then I'll take the
way
thumb
over,
drive when
so
I go.
we'll push that off to another meeting, the next
So
meeting.
what we'll have to do is the meeting.
Yeah, we just discussed where we wanna go, so we're good. Nan's gonna continue to review. The board's gonna start talking about seeker and where we're at with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Um,
somehow you have to determine the application is complete and set your public hearing.
Yep.
And
I-
continue on.
Right, they need to figure out seeker before we go
Yeah,
to
and
public hearing. And we
FEAF
need
is all in there too
plans.
for you.
Yeah, so that,
I don't do a public hearing until the plans are, they're good with the plan, with that. Yes. I think next meeting, I'll continue to talk to the board about this under seeker, and then we'll devote a little bit of time about where they're headed, with what they're thinking for seeker and how we're gonna classify it.
Okay.
Thank you, number one, I thought Brad's presentation was excellent.
Thank you.
My main concern is going to be traffic and shared access. You need to talk to the other people on Calamar. Calamar's been a difficult situation for decades. It's not recent, it's been, I can remember battles with Calamar Lane and some of the people who lived there years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago. So just talk to them and get something in writing, because you're gonna have problems if you don't. And that is a big concern. The project is what the project is. Presentation is excellent. So let's
John, can I add something to what you're saying?
go ahead, certainly.
Not just the two properties on Calamar Lane, but the properties on the sides that back up to the property. Because that's where people are living. And there are 4 buildings, if I counted right. And I think some of them are multiple housing. So my recommendation would be to
Good point.
create some relationship with those people.
We absolutely want to be a good or the best neighbor possible, for sure. So thank you for your suggestions. And I will say that where the traffic is concerned, we do have the full report there. So
They did.
avail yourself, go through it. You'll see exactly what they've come up with.
And I do believe that you have met with a few people.
Yes.
Yeah,
I have.
Initially,
I've reached
for
out.
just,
Thank you.
it's not that it's not been a complete oversight.
And Michael reached out too.
Yeah, I've talked to them.
We'll keep
Not
reaching
all.
out.
Yeah. This has potential to really clean up Calamar. It really does. And that's the part I like, because I can remember some pretty dismal
Yeah,
periods of time when it
It's-
comes to Calamar.
it's not in good condition right now.
Mm-mm. Agreed.
And it's
Well,
dangerous.
there's cleaning up and there's gentrifying, and that's,
Yeah.
I think, the concern that some of the neighbors have.
All right, so Woodstock Gardens team, what I want to do is more curtailed to the board, and I will have this on the agenda just for discussion and seeker purposes and kind of cleaning up what we did tonight, just with them, so we're all heading forward. It's not necessarily going to be here, but I want you to know that that's on my,
I would like to be here for those projects. So even if not right on the agenda,
okay.
and I know you'll let me know.
And
of
at
course
some
I will.
point, there will be a.
But I want to let you
That's
guys know,
routine.
because, you know, it's only fair, and we've kind of bombarded, but yeah, we need to.
Yeah, and our goal obviously is to move towards public
Perfect.
hearing, and
January,
hopefully that'll come
18th.
sometime this spring.
is that the next one? January 18th,
January 18th is what?
the next.
Next
meeting.
meeting.
Oh, next, oh, you meet twice a month?
Yes.
So Brad,
Official
write
next
that
Tell me
down.
what seeker is?
The environmental review.
Environmental.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and thank Thanks, man. Take care.
Yes, you too. No, he said the other day. It's to me, like, we let it come, I don't understand
So you take one, you take
Which he also does.
not one. Okay,
Mr. Nelson, and I have your property up on my map.
This next sketch plan review is for James Nelson, planning board case 23-0734B. And this is sketch plan review of the subdivision application for lot line revision of 2 parcels resulting in 2 new lots of 1.1 acres and 2.5 acres by transferring 0.08 acres in the NC zoning district located at Wittenberg and 420 Wittenberg Road. And Don Brewer is the rep, so Don, if you want to tell the board what this division is.
Okay, yeah, back in,
Just so you know.
2020,
Plan to do that.
August, 2022.
Yeah.
we approved, had a subdivision approved.
Right.
And now James has realized that he needs to back that line off of his house there a little more. Get away from his driveway that he has in there. He wants to move it back. So that's what you have there.
That's a 2022 aerial photograph, so I assume things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent it and I can
I
find it.
have some here if I want to look at
I
it.
have it. I'll just,
So he owns both lots still, right?
Yes,
So he's the only one involved in this wetland revision.
right. There's,
And it's a point.
Yeah, so
it's,
show it to the board members, but it looks to me like we can wait further review. I don't see how it's going to affect anybody though.
It's not.
yeah, no, it's not,
And all that, nothing's changed
So,
there.
Mr. Laval, would you like to make a motion to waive further review?
I would.
Second.
Board members?
All in favor?
Hey,
All right.
I'll see you all soon.
That's the kind we like, you know?
I revised those maps at the Cynthia though, because I didn't realize his wife had passed,
It's okay.
so.
I talked to the lawyer, I did a lot of like work there and yeah, we'll talk, but it's good. I took care of my end and you took care of your end and perfect.
Thank you very much. All
Still
right,
on
Don.
there, I believe in the-
Good to see everybody again.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, our last case plan
Come on up, Mitch.
is Eric Rogoff, special use permit 23-0690, which is a sketch plan review of a special use permit application for construction of a pool house in the scenic overlay in the R5 zoning district located at 189 Hutch Hill Road in Fairview. So.
First, I want to tell you guys a little back history, because I know you don't always read all my emails. I send a lot. Mr. Rogoff owns two parcels, if not three.
Two, I think.
Two, but they had come here and wanted to do a pool and a pool house on a separate vacant lot, which is a no-no. So they were talking about merging the two parcels, they were talking about wetlands and water course. We were talking about lots of different things. So they've adjusted their plans smartly, to make the pool house with their house.
So that's.
That's why they're here
That's
now.
the northern.
Special use
of the two
permit.
parcels that I see up there. And you do have lots of wetlands and buffers to deal with.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're on road, so.
But
you've
just
got
a
access.
little brief,
Great, thank you.
you're welcome.
You know, as Judy will show you, on the parcel viewer, it shows the line going right through everything.
Yeah, and there's the house and the driveway, and there's another house on the property. Which one is that and which one is that?
That's the one at the top is the house.
That's
That's the actual house.
Right.
That's the house included, it's a storage shed.
Okay, storage shed.
Okay.
And this is the other property where you would have liked to put it, but you'd have to move a property line or something to do that.
Correct.
It
So
was a
where are
lot
you
more.
proposing to put
Everybody's
it?
desire on a hot
That was
summer
before
day
me,
and
so.
stuff.
It
So the pool house has lighting. There's lights in the pool house, so they're gonna be dark sky compliant. Anything outside will be dark sky
Especially when it's at
compliant.
the coast.
The roof will be, these are specs for a roof, it's non-reflective.
Exactly.
Are there windows in the pool house?
Yes, there
Are
are.
they over 25% on any?
They are.
They are,
Yes.
so you have to mitigate that.
Which house is the pool house for? It's the one to the north there. Kind of right in the middle of that parcel.
So it's this, it's near this, is the pool in
That's
already?
what the pool
The pool
house
is
is.
not in yet.
Okay, so,
We're basically removing a deck enlarging the deck, putting the pool in the deck.
So it's gonna be
Is it like a-
snug up against the house.
Is it gonna be like a raised pool with the deck around it? I got it.
So the lighting, I mean, the glazing is over,
The
but
house.
which way is it facing that it's over?
It's facing, this might help.
To be honest, I don't know where I put the file.
Is it facing the view, is what we want to know?
Is it behind the house?
The window is behind the house?
It's facing the view, but back off Hudson Hill a good bit. So there's a.
This is the buffer of the intermittent stream, this is the buffer of the wetland. And those are not exact, somebody has to delineate where exactly.
Yeah, that intermittent stream is basically a gully.
Well,
That's been-
yeah,
That's
but
been mowed up too.
it's got a 30-foot buffer.
So
So initially, they did come here for wetlands and watercourse permit, but Butch had deemed that they didn't need a wetlands and watercourse for this change.
Okay, well, he's the wetlands inspector, so he would have the final say.
And I mean, I just feel like they've kind of talked and looked at this till.
Well, does the pool house have plumbing or anything, or?
It does, yeah, it has a small kitchenette,
Oh, wow.
kitchen.
So that would be somewhere back in this area or in that area? This area
It's right
here?
there, right there.
Yeah.
Right there, right where it sort of almost touches the purple.
The purple is the edge of the
I don't have the large.
30-foot buffer for,
in the buffer?
and it's an
From
intermittent
the
stream.
intermittent, yes. But my understanding was it wasn't a problem with that one. There was another area which we did highlight the setback of that, which was, this is the buffer from that one.
Not in there.
Well, the intermittent stream is here.
He
Okay,
didn't
I
send
see,
me
I
big
see.
So-
plans.
The stream is right on the corner of it.
Teeny tiny.
Yeah, and having dug a pond in an intermittent stream before it was covered by the town laws, because it wasn't mapped yet.
And what's like your leaching and stuff? What's your leaching and stuff? Leaching and all that.
It's over here.
Well, that's the wetlands and watercourse inspector's
Yeah,
job to determine that.
yeah, if he says it's all right, then I don't think you really
If
have.
he's okay with it,
Even a gully, I mean, water or anything.
Can certainly help that, but for personal health.
Right.
Sailing the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we located the pool equipment behind that.
Hey.
Oh, perfect. So this is the existing house here.
okay, so the main question for the board to determine is, can it be seen from anywhere, this pool house?
So is it a two-story pool house too, because the deck is raised?
Well, the house itself is raised at that point because there's an existing screen room It's hidden by bush.
But that's
That's the
the
screen room.
westernmost part of the house?
Yes,
So is that where the pool house is gonna go?
yeah, it's going to go right here,
Is
beside
it
on this.
on the side of it? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not that far down, you just have a large, higher foundation.
Correct, they'll be up on piles.
I got it.
Piers.
But it's not two-story.
No, it's not two stories. There's a small loft in
This
it.
would be more like two-story, the deck area, this is actually.
It's the same
built
level
up.
as the back, yeah, because the backside is gonna be basically at
Goes up.
grade. Close to grade.
Right.
Well, I think the main issue is mitigating the windows. Because otherwise, it's less obtrusive than the rest of the house.
Right. Yeah. And it's pretty far back off Hudgens Hill.
Wouldn't think.
Let's see, here's
You
the
know,
full.
well, I can get some contour lines up in here. That will help too.
Yeah,
Literally, this-
this is Hudgens Hill.
Okay. When you're on Hutchin Hill, can you see the house? Okay, even in the winter.
It's just.
Yeah. And no, because I used to live here, this house, and then I went down the road now.
And then on this side, I haven't been on Hutchin for a while, does it go up, is it another mountain side?
Where the heck are my?
Here it flattens out for a bit, goes down a little bit, and then back out.
Okay, and are there houses up in that area that overlook this?
I don't believe they can see it.
Okay.
Because I don't believe we can see from here.
So it's only.
And on
here.
212,
Pool house,
which I'm
on
thinking is
pool,
over
pool
here,
house.
there's no sight line to 212.
Yeah,
No, sometimes 212.
so I agree with everything you're
I
saying.
really messed up my map here.
So, board members, do you think you wanna go take a look, or do you think this is, not visible from anywhere? If you want to,
I don't think we
if you want to do a site visit, we can certainly do that.
I mean, we can do a site visit, or you can almost just drive on Hutchin Hill and just sort of
Just take a look.
check out the view up there and then see how far you are from 212, which is a distance, and what else can actually be seen.
That's it.
So
Which I don't think is much.
basically,
So
it's
it's
here only
compliant.
for the pool house, not the pool. So there's only a section of the pool house that falls within the scenic overlay. So just so you know, like this, what they'll get on the special use permit is the pool house. The pool's fine. It's in a fine location.
Oh, I
There's
see,
no,
'cause that's
it's
where
only
it
a
goes.
little part that falls within.
And so that's doing all
So
the
it's what we were
windows, and
talking about, is it really visible?
what's the roof and all that, and the windows and all that.
And he's,
We're matching the existing, which is asphalt shingle and dark gray. We're gonna change the siding to vertical.
so it's up to you guys, but
I
it's
think the
not,
board should consider no further review. Very frankly.
I'm for that. if
I'm okay with
everybody
that.
else is.
I think so too.
Great, thank you.
okay, Jonathan made a motion, Peter seconded, and everybody say aye.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Paperwork, Mitch, they gotta fill out, so it'll be a couple weeks, but we'll
Okay.
iron it off.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just brought up. This is not very
You
steep
did a good
here.
job.
Thank you so much.
And the pictures are great.
I need
And
to
add
change
it
the
in there
color
if you
of
want
this.
them.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, we can add these, I can send you the bills, if you need those.
Perfect.
You have the roofing.
I think he did so much in the back.
Yeah, no, but if you have it correct.
Yep,
You need
and we'll make sure we put it all in. Nah, I got those.
keep your file. Great, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Easy ones are hers.
all right, my board members. And then I'll let you go. Hold on, Peter's ready to run. Look at him. He's ready to get
Well,
out
then
of
I
here.
have a couple too.
Okay, okay. So California Quarry is gonna be Saturday, this Saturday at 1 PM. I have James and Judy. Who else can go Saturday at 1?
Recognizing that I'm not gonna do much walking.
It's fine, they're gonna drive you up to the top again. Somebody's gonna drive up to the top.
I
Anybody
remember
else?
that. I even took a picture up there.
James,
It was so
Judy, Braden, anybody else Saturday at 1?
No interest.
Okay, we're counting on the 3 of you. I can't go either. So.
Okay, so we're meeting right on this mountain road.
Yeah, I think right at the bottom, because then one of you can
Bloody
drive. You
slow.
guys can just leave your car
Please
unlocked.
take it easy coming down.
Yeah.
I would like to see the members of the board at the next meeting.
So
We're
remember,
not
I'm
a quorum
gonna,
anymore.
I'm sorry, I won't be there to hold your hand. James. I'm gonna send you guys all the plans and a WeChance for tomorrow. They have done extensive work. They have done extensive engineering. They're putting the house where the house needs to go.
Staked out.
Yes.
It's staked out,
Yes, it's
okay.
been staked out. So you'll see, you basically pull in, you see the driveway. James has been up there with us before. You know exactly, like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna send you the whole retransfer tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, Jessup Road, Jennifer Drew and Graydon are going on Thursday, January 11th at 10.
Yeah.
That's another, plans look great. I'll send them to you too, but I can wait till next week to send them to you. Sound good?
Mhm.
Anybody else want to go to Jessup Road with Jen and Graydon? Thanks, guys. Okay, so this is my piece. Okay. You guys do a great job with the scenic overlay. And all of our requirements and our handbook is lovely. I get calls a lot about people buying lots within the scenic overlay, and I direct them to the handbook. Some questions have come up lately. Now, I want to take your attention back to the Deswan Aaron's case, in which they were accused incorrectly, which we had them pay for a forester to figure out. Okay, so people go to
What was
purchase
that
property.
What were they
Deswan
accused
Aaron's.
of? I'm sorry.
They were accused of
Clear
clear cutting and
cutting.
making
It
a
wasn't
big
even
gash in the
they
hill,
owned it.
and it wasn't.
On
even
Abbey
the
Road?
And
same
it wasn't
thing.
even their property,
The photograph
yes,
the guy
yes.
took was not their property.
yes.
Yes, they still did a huge gash.
So, you buy a piece of property, say there was cutting, I'm not saying logging, I'm not saying clear cutting, I'm saying cutting. I'm getting calls, are we gonna be held liable for what the property is? We can't hold people am I right? Help me out here. We can't, if you bought the property in 2023 and this is what it looked like, and you come in and show me pictures, this is what it looked like, or if I've seen pictures, we
No,
can't,
but that's not really the issue. The issue is the building they're gonna build visible.
exactly.
That's what we care about.
So if you're
So
gonna
if
follow,
it's cleared already,
it's already clear.
then you can't put the building there, you can see it.
We wanna know that the dark sky compliant, we wanna know that the color matches, we wanna know, I mean, am I in agreement? Cause I would let, this one woman's very sweet, very lovely, and I'm gonna go up and look at it, and I'm gonna take pictures, and I'm gonna add it to the file next week, which I'm gonna take a trip. But
There are two things we need to sort out here. One is they're not supposed to cut trees.
well, you can cut trees according to our code, Peter.
20
yeah,
cords, you can cut
20 cords
20 cords.
per year,
I know, and that didn't get changed in the proposal.
and if there's no violations, we can't treat it as a violation, that's my point,
Yeah.
so I just
There's a
want this
certain
woman to
amount-
spend millions of dollars on a piece of law and think that she's gonna come and have fines and have to deal with lawyers, that's.
But the issue has come up before in other
Yeah.
sites in the scenic overlay that was already cleared, there was already a house there, and then he ripped the house down and it's still cleared, and now somebody wants to put a house where that was.
Absolutely,
It's totally visible,
absolutely.
can't do it,
Absolutely.
too bad.
And then we're thankful now that we're getting applications for carports, right?
Mhm.
So I think we're headed in the right direction.
Why are we thankful for that? For carports?
But the other side of that, which is what a lot of people do, landowners do, that want to sell their property on that thing, is they clear it before
They
they
sell it.
ask anything.
Right,
So it's already
which has
cleared.
been a problem for a long time.
Which was the point I wanted to make, that clearing it is a violation.
There's two parts in the code for scenic overlay. And one says the CEO has judgment, and another one says, well, scenic overlay has to go to the planning board. Ellen used judgment, Butch sends all cases here. The carport was completely invisible at the bottom, like, we didn't need to necessarily see it. But it creates an SUP in the file. So when McMansion comes and wants to develop, to me, it's creating a trigger. So you have the right as the planning board to waive further review, and like, we know this area, and we write the resolutions, and we write them that way. But this is where we're at. But this question has come up, and now it's like lots of attention, and people have asked, and I feel we're fair, and we run the planning board very honestly. My door is always open, my files are always open, so I wanna make sure that I'm very big on the handbook. You have to follow what the code says, the colors, the specs. We don't wanna see it, we want the least amount of cutting. But you have a right to build a house.
Can you explain what you just said? Someone built a carport, which is, so it triggered an SUP, or wanted to build one, so and what does that have to do with the McMansion in the future?
Because if they sell the property in 10 years, and then somebody wants to build a larger house on there, and then clear cut the whole lot. So if it triggered an SUP in a building file, then it's a trigger that it's scenic overlay.
I mean, it's very common in selling property, is property owners
I just wanted to make sure
check the
that
site first.
I, as your admin, am saying what you would want me to say. That's what, make sure we're all on the same page with this. So thank you for reaffirming.
So if somebody builds a carport and they've gotten an SUP to build a carport, and that land is now usable for something else, like a bigger house, but that doesn't mean they can clear cut the whole lot.
Absolutely. Yes. So that's just an example. We're seeing more and more applications for special use permits within the scenic overlay. It's kind of a side conversation on that, but this was separate. That just pulled into that.
So when do we trigger like doing like the balloon tests and all that? Like,
Well, this one got triggered, the one you guys are gonna go look at, because it is the most prominent.
Yeah.
so, but
Knowledge.
to her, very nice woman, who she keeps saying so nice.
No,
Will we be able to say balloon test at some point if we're looking at this?
No.
Because it doesn't.
it's not a concern.
Because
Why?
It's that high up. It's not.
you can't see from anywhere.
This isn't gonna be another day road, is it?
No, God, no. No, they
Okay.
would have to come here anyway. No matter what, they would have to come here, but no. California quarry, at the top of California quarry is, we're talking the highest elevation in town. That's what
And
prompts,
that
And that's
side of
what
that
prompts-
mountain is where we get all the glare coming off.
yes.
And Peter raised the interesting question of whether 25% means the whole hill or
Right.
just the area where they are siting the house.
Right.
Which they clearly have some area that is below 25.
Right, well, it's level where they're gonna put that house,
Yeah,
if you remember.
well, I couldn't see that because I was up.
Oh, yeah, I went to,
I will not be able to see that because I'm not walking down the driveway.
I don't blame you. It's all good. Yeah.
But my map says there is area that is not 25%. And that's we don't even have that law yet. It's still
No.
35%.
But the thing is, Julie, like when West did that subdivision, we didn't have that kind of code, so I mean, today we could, because we wouldn't even approve
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, because of the steep slope.
And remember, when you buy a piece of property, we wanna like the word single family residence, we like, you know what I mean?
Even if it's
They-
8,000
they have
square feet
rights.
with a pool house and 3-car garage, or 5-car garage.
Look at our colors. Mitigate.
Yep.
So
So that was your finished business.
Yes, can you adjourn our meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, guys.
So my plug I retired.
Oh, you
Got
gotta
plowed.
stop preparing so I can.
I am plug,